The New York Mets introduced their new manager, Carlos Mendoza, on Tuesday afternoon as the team looks to bounce back from a disappointing 2023 season. So let's talk some Mets baseball. We're going to do that with the host of the Subway to Shea podcast, Anthony Rivera, who joins us now. Anthony, how's it going?
It's going well. We finally have our manager in place, and now it's time to get to work on that roster of ours.
It is time to get work on that roster. It feels like now the manager's in place. The offseason has officially started. We are here, but we got to talk about Mr. Carlos Mendoza. And Anthony and Mendoza addressed the media for the first time on Tuesday. What were your main takeaways from his first press conference as the manager of the New York Mets?
Definitely well-spoken guy coming out of New York, going from the Yankees, and I like what he had to say. Obviously, it's your typical first press conference, so it was going to be very general, but he seemed like a guy that was very emotional, that was very into coming to New York, which was very important because we know that Craig Counsell was not. So it's great to have someone who is not only going to be, the heart and soul of the organization as the manager, but also someone that's going to work with the organization, work with David Stearns in turning this ship around and getting this team to their first championship in a long time.
Yeah, it matters that someone wants to be here. You want somebody who wants to lead the team, that wants to be in the Big Apple. Now, Mendoza, he's got the core of a team that won 100 games just 2 seasons ago. What do you think is the biggest challenge the new Mets manager will face in 2024?
It's definitely with the personalities of the team. He talked about them coming together and working together and definitely turning this team into a winning organization. Because as we saw, the Mets won over 100 games last season, not last season, the season before, and then this time took a huge step back. So getting them back on track to being a winning team, because they have the core players there. We've seen it. They just need some pitching, starting and relieving, and some little key components to help turn this team around. But let's see if he can do that and see if he can get this team to a consistent winning organization.
So now you talked about getting them back on track, and there's a long way to go with the offseason, and we've got spring training. But in your eyes, what does a successful 2024 season look like for the New York Mets with Carlos Mendoza leading the team?
A winning record. Let's have a winning record and be one of those teams that consistently has winning records, because we know that if you win and getting this team to possible postseason berth, and it doesn't matter how it could, whether it's winning the division or winning the wild card, which more looked like that could possibly happen with, the Braves leading that and the Phillies doing what they do. The Mets need to get into being a winning team, a winning organization, and let's see if Carlos can kind of turn the tide, because that's what we want to see. That's what Steve Cohen wants to see. He wants to see sustainable winning, and if Carlos Mendoza can do that, he's on the right track. I don't see a World Series right now at this moment, considering what we see with the roster, but getting this team to a winning record, and then we could work towards going to the playoffs next.
All right, there you go, with Anthony Rivera, the host of the Subway to Shea podcast, talking about taking baby steps, winning record first, then playoffs, then World Series. Not going to jump out the window on this one, and the sustained success that you mentioned there, I think that's what a lot of Mets fans want to see. Once again, that is Anthony Rivera, the host of the Subway to Shea podcast. Go check that out. Anthony, as always, thank you for the time and insight. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Dexter. It's always a pleasure.